So next up, we have a presentation from Summit Minerals with the ticker code SUM, a company focused on the exploration of their lithium, rare earths, and antimony projects. To tell us more, today we are joined by Exploration Manager, Jonathan King. Good afternoon, Jonathan.
There we go.
There we go. Wonderful.
Okay.
Let me bring up your presentation.
Thank you. So welcome everyone. And we just jump to where we are. Obviously, as Jane said in her introduction, we are focused around some critical minerals, being lithium, rare earths, antimony. Those projects are spread across the globe at this point in time, from James Bay in Canada through to Morocco and some here in Australia, mainly in Western Australia. Key thing about the company, we're just coming up to 12 months old. And we are a genuine exploration company. So we are very much exposed to early exploration success. And should we be successful, then we anticipate to re-rate strongly. There's the capital structure. I think the good thing about us at the moment is that the structure is very tight. Our top 20 remains fairly strong. And we have around 4 to 4.5 million in the bank. So we're well positioned to cover our future exploration programs. So most recently, we announced this Castor Lithium Project acquisition in James Bay. Obviously, it's a very, very hot area at the moment, with Rio acquiring 2 projects over there. A number of other players are doing exceptionally well. Our project lies in the northern half of the James Bay area. And you can see it in the map. I don't know if I've got any control here, but it's right up the top. And I'd like to draw your attention to the Mia lithium property and the Radis lithium property, which lie basically on the same greenstone belt as our own project. The vendor was Jody DeRouge, or one of the vendors was Jody DeRouge. And Jody DeRouge and his consultancy firm have been engaged to support our exploration program. Fires are present in the area. The James Bay Road, which transects our ground, at this stage is under a little bit of risk, but there were rains overnight which have moved to put out those fires, and hopefully we'll be on the ground shortly. So really the key thing about the project is that we've got 118 square kilometres, so a fairly substantial amount of greenstone is covered by the project area. We lie along strike from the Q2 Metals Mia properties, which have values up to 4.37% lithium oxide, and Ophir Gold's Radis project with values up to 2.33% lithium oxide. We cover 33 kilometres of strike. And on our ground, we know already we have several mapped bodies of pegmatite. And these are the Vieux Comptor pegmatites, which are the same pegmatites that host PMT's Corvette property, Corvette pegmatite system. So I think the key thing there is that, or one thing I'd like to point out is that with Radis have these, or Ophir have these same pegmatites. They walked on the ground. At this stage, they were simply mapped as occurrences, and they very quickly identified spodumene on their ground. And we are very much in the same position as what they are. So we hope that we can get on the ground very quickly, and we can and show that we've got spodumene bearing pegmatites. We're well funded with the $1.5 million placement that that coincided with this acquisition. Moving to Stallion. Stallion is our rare earth property, which lies to the east of Kalgoorlie. The dull grey circles that you can see in the diagram on your right is the historical drilling by Manhattan Corporation. Much of that drilling was too shallow. It was targeting uranium mineralization in the paleo channel. Some of those holes pushed through the base of the channel into the underlying bedrock, where they intersected rare earth mineralization. We saw that, and we decided that we would chase that up, and we would step out to the margins of the paleo channel so that we would try and intersect the mineralization where it came up towards the surface. We were very successful in doing so, as you can see from our drilling, which is the blue dots, and those results to the west of the creek, or the left of the creek there. So I think the key thing to point out here apart from those great numbers, now we are targeting a different style of mineralisation to what we just heard from Barden. So we went into this with the view that this may be an IAD, IAC style of mineralisation, i.e. a clay-hosted deposit. We certainly do see some clays in association with ours, and we do see this as a supergene deposit. So it is a blanket of mineralisation which is forming in the base of the upper saprolite and the transitional zone into the upper part of the lower saprolite. It forms as a broad sheet across the landscape. It mimics that dashed line that we can see in this diagram. However, the met work that we've completed to date does not tend to support this being an IAC, IAD, and I am probably moving more towards some sort of supergene phosphate as the potential host. Now, we obviously are continuing with our metallurgical work to establish exactly the nature of the host and then the recoverability of the rare earths from that material. The NdPr ratio in this material, if we could move to the next slide. Oh, sorry, I should point out that we've completed a second round of drilling. We've received the results in the lower section there in green, which are on the peripheral of the system. Those results are consistent with what we've received previously in the same location. The area in red we're still waiting on, and we hope to have those to the market shortly, but that is where we believe the guts of the mineralisation will be. And if those repeat, then we'll be looking to advance towards our maiden resource estimate for this area. So, so just to point out the NdPr, which is where we see the value, as you can see in the diagram, the pie chart on the left, around 24% is of our trio is NdPr, which is quite reasonable. And if we look across this to the table on the right, or diagram on the right, you can see that we actually sit relatively high. Of course, the base that we're coming from is much lower than what Barden was talking about. But nonetheless, if it proves to be leachable, this could certainly work. Moving into Morocco with the Ahmed Antimony acquisition. Morocco is a fantastic country to be in. You know, we've got, it's a very safe jurisdiction. It's got very proactive mining regulation. It's got superb infrastructure. And of course, we're right on the southern extent of the European zone. So we've got markets right adjacent to us. We've got outcropping mineralisation, which sits in a sheared contact, which extends over several tens of kilometres. And we're currently out there mapping that. And if you've been following our feed on Twitter, then you'll know you've been seeing the rock chips come through. We think that the country represents a fantastic opportunity, not just for antimony, but for a range of commodities. And you know, obviously we're assessing everything as we go. So just a closer look at what we have there. You can see that we have 6 research licenses or tenements, which are those in blue on the right-hand side. They cover an area of 79 square kilometres. We sampled a number of historical mines in the property during our due diligence, and they returned the results that you can see on the screen there, which essentially is direct shipping ore grades. Obviously, we want to see some extension to those, a bit more scale, and then we're in the business. One of the great things about Morocco is that we can get in there and drill almost immediately. The controls that we find on us here in Australia are not necessarily present in Morocco, and that means that we can fast track our exploration process. Again, just to reiterate, we've got fantastic access to this project and we can work there all year round. Morocco itself was number 8 in the 2021 Fraser survey for places to work. And certainly our experience to date supports that. It's a wonderful place to be. That's it really, I think, Jane. I think if you go through to the next one, it's just a the summary information. So thank you very much, everyone, for your time, and sorry for being a bit rough up there with the Castor section.
No, that was perfect. Thanks so much, Jonathan. I'll jump into it quickly. So can you please talk a little bit more about antimony and its application to large-scale batteries?
Yeah, well, that's part of the reason why we're in the antimony space. There is a wonderful battery that's been developed called the Ambri battery, which is now moving towards commercialization. Unlike the other batteries that we're probably going to hear a bit about, which are the lithium-based batteries, which are, are subject to safety and issues and have limited life. Antimony doesn't have any of those issues, but it's at a scale which is beyond the lithium battery too. It's designed to operate basically as a power station. So it comes as a modular system, which you build progressively as your power needs grow. And I mean, really, it's a stabilizer to the energy flow. So you take your passive energy forms, you feed them into your antimony-based battery. That stabilizes the energy system, and it feeds out steady current. So there's a number of pluses about it, and I certainly recommend that everybody do their homework on that battery, and then they'll understand why Summit is in this space.
Wonderful. Well, Jonathan, that's all we've got time for today. If webinar attendees do have further questions, please feel free to reach out via the contact details on the bottom of the ASX releases. But thanks again for your time.
Thank you.